The generals have spoken. Military backs Chiwenga as May 18th closes in. Muri Zimbabwe. Welcome back. Pamzinda wevanhu kubva kuvanhu. There is a rule in Zimbabwe politics that has never been broken. Not once, not in 46 years of independence. When the military speaks, everything changes. Politicians can be ignored. Opposition leaders can be arrested. Civil society can be silenced. Journalists can be harassed. War veterans can petition and be told to go home. But when senior military figures, men with stars on their shoulders and institutional authority behind their words, when those men publicly signal which way they are leaning, everyone in Zimbabwe stops and listens. Zimbabwe, this week they spoke. Retired Lieutenant General Winston Gauke Mapranga has issued a detailed public statement, and the message inside it is one of the clearest, most direct signals the military establishment has sent since November 2017. Senior military figures are backing Vice President Constantino Chiwenga to succeed President Emmerson Mnangagwa. And they are warning loudly, publicly, with their names attached, that the May 18th third term bill is a line they will not allow to be crossed without consequences. 9 days, family. Let us break this down completely. Let us start with the substance of what retired Lieutenant General Mapranga put on record, because this is not a vague expression of concern. This is a detailed, structured, historically grounded argument. Mapranga's central point is about a betrayal of principle, specifically the principles that governed the 2017 transition. The understanding, not written, not signed, but understood by every serious player in that room, that the military did not remove Mugabe simply to install another permanent ruler. They removed Mugabe to restore constitutional order, to ensure that Zimbabwe returned to a path where leadership transitions happened according to rules, not according to whoever had the most guns or the most money on any given day. A gentleman's agreement existed that Mnangagwa would serve his tenure and then hand power to General Chiwenga. The emergence of the ED 2030 slogan among Mnangagwa's loyalists has shattered that illusion. The military elite view this as a betrayal of the 2017 consensus. A betrayal of the 2017 consensus. That is the interinstitutional charge being laid, not a personal grievance, not factional politics, a betrayal of the foundational agreement that justified the entire 2017 intervention in the first place. And when you betray the agreement that justified the intervention, you invite the institution that made the intervention to reconsider its position. The retired commanders insist their intervention is not an act of rebellion, but an attempt to defend Zimbabwe's constitutional order. Defending the constitutional order. Those are the exact same words used in November 2017 when Operation Restore Legacy was announced. The same language, the same framing, the same institutional justification, and anyone who was paying attention in 2017 knows when the military uses that language, they are not making a political comment, they are issuing a warning. Now, Zimbabwe, let us address the obvious question. Why are the generals backing Chiwenga specifically? Why not push for a completely fresh start? Why not support a civilian transition? The answer has two paths, one historical, one institutional. Chiwenga showed restraint, principle, and loyalty, qualities Zimbabwe now needs in a leader. Restraint, principle, loyalty. Three words that the military establishment values above almost everything else. Because a military institution runs on those three qualities. They are the foundation of command, of trust between officers, of the covenant we have discussed on this channel for weeks. And Chiwenga demonstrated all three in 2017. He had the tanks, he had the moment, he had the absolute power of the transition. And he chose restraint. He chose the constitutional path. He chose to hand power to Mnangagwa rather than take it himself, even when Mugabe reportedly offered it to him directly. Chiwenga deserves the presidency because he showed restraint, principle, and loyalty, qualities Zimbabwe now needs in a leader. That is the militarist argument, not that Chiwenga is perfect, not that he has no complications in his history, but that in the defining moment, when it mattered most, he chose principle over power. And the institution that watched him make that choice, he has not forgotten it. The second reason is institutional. Chiwenga is not a civilian politician. He carries with him the institutional memory and the commanding authority of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. He is not Odinga. He is not a civilian who can be sidelined through party structures and parliamentary votes. He is a general with the respect of the officer corps, with networks that run through every barracks in this country, with an authority that does not evaporate when someone signs a piece of paper removing him from a Politburo meeting. And family, here's the development that is making Mnangagwa's camp most nervous, because it is not just one faction of the military speaking. Retired Air Marshal Henry Muchena has emerged as the new face of resistance within the Liberation War establishment, leading a group of retired generals and senior civil servants who are former combatants. Muchena is a former Mujuru ally, removed from his position in the ZANU-PF Commissariat Department by Mnangagwa. Now Muchena comes from the Mjuru faction, Zanla background, historically the rival military tradition to Chiwenga's, and yet here he is, standing alongside Chiwenga-aligned generals, submitting formal petitions to parliament, making public statements, joining a coalition that crosses the historical military divides that Mnangagwa has spent years exploiting. Mnangagwa's coup-proofing strategy has backfired as Chiwenga's generals who removed Mugabe join hands with Mjuru's generals. Once rivals, now united in opposition. The single thing Mnangagwa most needed to prevent has happened. He needed these factions divided. He needed them watching each other suspiciously, playing one against the other. That was the architecture of his security strategy. In Cape 3, the overreach that pushed it too far has collapsed that architecture, given these men a common cause that is bigger than their historical rivalries. The national constitution is not ZANU-PF's property. It belongs to every Zimbabwean. That sentence from their former parliamentary submission is the glue holding this coalition together. Not personal loyalty to Chiwenga, not factional self-interest, a constitutional principle. And constitutional principles, when genuinely held by men who bled for the constitution, are harder to buy or intimidate than personal loyalty ever is. Now, Zimbabwe, let us talk about why Mnangagwa's strategy to neutralize this threat has not worked. Right. Why Mnangagwa's strategy failed? Because he tried very hard. Mnangagwa reshuffled military top command for the second time this year. He retired ZDF commander Sivanda and replaced him with General Matatu. He removed Lieutenant General Sanyatwe, a close Chiwenga ally, in March last year. He installed Tapfumane as ZNA commander. He promoted his son Sean to Lieutenant Colonel in the Presidential Guard. Every single one of those moves was designed to create a military command structure loyal to Mnangagwa rather than to Chiwenga. replace the generals, promote the loyalists, put family in the presidential guard, control the chain of command from the top down. But here is the fundamental problem with that strategy. The purging of these figures has not neutralized them. Sanyatwe, booted out in March 2025, amid fears of a looming coup, is now perceived as a serious threat. The individuals purged were once key players in the 2017 coup that ousted Robert Mugabe. You cannot unpage a general. You cannot make a retired air marshal forget his networks. You cannot erase the institutional relationships built over decades of shared service. You can remove people from positions. You cannot remove them from the room where the real decisions are being made. And the room where Zimbabwe's real decisions are made, the room where military figures gather and talk and signal, that room still has Chiwenga's people in it, regardless of what their official titles say. Family, 9 days. Let us be precise about what the military is signaling for May 18th. They are not, at this stage, signaling a coup. No. They are not rolling tanks. They are not making dramatic announcements. What they are doing is something more sophisticated, more institutional, more dangerous in the long run for Cape 3's prospects. They are making it known publicly on the record, with names attached, that the military establishment views the third term bill as a violation of the 2017 consensus, that they support Chiwenga's constitutional path to the presidency, and that institutional resistance to Cape 3 is not just possible, it is being organized. The generals have already proven they are capable of removing a sitting president if they feel the legacy of the revolution is threatened. The military, which considers itself the ultimate arbiter of Zimbabwean politics, appears unwilling to let the administration bypass the democratic guardrails established after the coup. The ultimate arbiter and the ultimate arbiter has spoken, not with tanks yet, with statements, with petitions, with public positioning, with the kind of deliberate institutional signaling that in Zimbabwe's political language says, we are watching, we have drawn our line, and we remember what we did in 2017. Every MP going into that chamber on May 18th knows that signal. Every senator calculating whether to show up or absent themselves knows that signal. Every Politburo member publicly supporting Cape 3 while privately fighting it knows that signal. The question is whether enough of them act on what they know. Let me land this simply. When retired generals, men who build their careers on institutional loyalty and constitutional principle, go public with their support for a vice president against a sitting president's agenda, they are not doing it lightly. They are not doing it for personal gain. They have already given their careers. They have already served their country. They have nothing left to lose. They are doing it because they look at Cape 3 and they see something they have seen before. A leader who started with a mandate, who came to power with genuine support and genuine possibility, losing himself in the intoxication of permanent power. It's like a drug, but the strongest. Power. Surrounding himself with people whose loyalty is purchased rather than earned. Dismantling the institutions that constrain him one personal decision at a time. They have seen this movie. They know how it ends. And they are saying, not again, not in our watch, not with the constitution we fought for. The development suggests that the resistance first articulated by the late Comrade Geza may now be evolving into a broader movement within the Liberation War establishment, one that could significantly influence Zimbabwe's next political transition. A broader movement, evolving, growing, crossing old factional lines, uniting around a constitutional principle that belongs not to any faction, but to every Zimbabwean. 9 days, family. The generals have spoken. The question now is whether parliament listens. Drop your thoughts. Does the military's public backing of Chiwenga change the calculation for May 18th? And what does this coalition of Zanla and Zipra generals tell you about how serious this moment really is? Share this video because Zimbabwe's future is being decided right now, and the more people who understand the forces at play, the harder it is to do this in the dark. This is your boy, Pano Bamzinda Wevan, fearless, always pro-democracy forever. Peace.